What is the weirdest thing you had to do at someone else's house because of their culture, religion? I remember going to my Swedish friend's house. And while we were playing in his room, his mom yelled that dinner was ready. And check this. He told me to wait in his room while they ate. That shit was fucking wild. I went over to my friend's house to play D&D in high school, and my friend's mom made lunch for the 7 of us. It was really good. We were just playing D&D and eating tacos, and after we all finished the lunch, everyone started pulling out cash. I was super confused. My friend turned to me and asked, "Do you have your $5? So apparently we were supposed to pay for the meal. I was incredibly embarrassed. One of my other friends ended up paying for me. I never played D&D at that house ever again. Edit. This happened in SoCal. They were just a standard American household as far as I was aware. The food was homemade. D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. It's a role-playing game. Also, I can confirm that my friend was not taking the money. I literally saw him give it to his mom. Went to a friend's house for dinner, a lovely meal. The whole family cleaned their plates of food, then turned him over and ate dessert on the back of their plates like it was the most normal thing in the world. I copied them just to be polite. When I lived in Antwerp, Belgium, I once was stopped by an elderly woman on the street. She was asking for help inside her house. Guiding me through a house where the temperature was way too hot, she stopped at every radiator and asked me to turn him down. In the end we went to the kitchen, where some Jewish women and children were watching me silently while I was putting all the burning gas stoves on a low heat. Then she showed me out, thanked me and closed the door. In Antwerp there is a big community of Hasidic Jews. I can imagine this was during Sabbath. Not sit on the furniture because only the males were allowed to. Kneel facing the wall while the 3 males in the house stood behind me and prayed in a cadence that got louder and louder until they were screaming about how to wear makeup is to create attraction, to create attraction is to create lust, and to create lust is to sin. I was 18 and wearing makeup. Legit, I thought I was about to be beheaded. I was kicked out of an elementary school friend's birthday party because another friend and I played witches in her treehouse. She was Southern Baptist. There was a literal cauldron in her treehouse. I stand by my decision. I am reminded of the story on Reddit where a girl went to her boyfriend's parents' house to meet them, and they had a ritual where they gather around a table and savagely consume an entire orange, skin and all. She didn't do it, and she upset the entire family. I think it's my favorite story from Reddit. Late to the game, but here goes. I had a friend growing up whose parents didn't allow any snacks in the house. Every time he invited me over to spend the night, I was expected to bring boxes of snack food because it could be allowed if brought in by an outsider. And yes, his parents would partake, too. So there was junior high school-aged high-gestake bringing boxes of snacks for an entire family to have a cheat night at my expense. I grew up in a highly Mormon area, so most of my friends in school were Mormon, and I was occasionally invited into their more intimate holiday celebrations. For example, one year, they gave me bags of food and drove me to a random house, then told me I had to go in and deliver the bags to the people inside, a big family who currently have no means of financial support, as a secret Santa. It was a wonderful gesture, but I felt really awkward being asked to do this in a stranger's house, but they asked me to do it for the expressed reason that I was a stranger, and they wouldn't know who had donated the food. When meeting my Finnish fiancé's family, I was invited to a sauna with her brother. No clothes allowed. 10 out of 10 would sweat with my boy again. I grew up in the crazy religious house, and since Santa Claus was secular, he was completely removed from anything to do with our Christmas. Instead we celebrated Christmas like an actual birthday party complete with cake and singing happy birthday to Jesus. Edit. For all the people correctly describing Santa Claus as Saint Nick, religious figure, my family believed Catholics were going to hell because praying to saints is akin to praying to an idol or false god. Secular was probably the incorrect word, but they definitely saw Saint Nick and the Santa Claus character as a threat to real Christmas. In secondary school, my best friend's family were very devout Christians. For some reason, her mother would not let me use the toilet in their house. Their porcelain thrones were for Christian asses only. Hardly Christ-like if you ask me. When my friend moved away, we would write to each other, and her mother read all the letters. She told me I couldn't sign off my letters by saying things like, "lots of love," or "love you loads," because it was lesbian. Okay, Susan, take a day off. When the host has been saying grace for 5 straight minutes and we're all still holding hands in a big circle as if we're trying to summon a spirit, it feels pretty weird. Went to stay with distant relatives in Lithuania during winter. It's nothing for them to all get naked in the sauna and pat each other with birch branches, then run out and roll in the snow. After a while I just went fuck it and gave in to my inhibitions, but at first it was a bit confronting being naked, exposed and vulnerable. On the flip side, their snow-chilled vodka was in my opinion which broke the ice, so to speak. Would 100% do again. I was prohibited from going to the lobby of the house or get out of the room without giving a warning first, because I was prohibited to meet the wife of the host since I am a man. I was 10 years old, by the way. I don't know if this counts as someone's culture. But when I was a kid, I had a sleepover with a friend that always sleeps naked. And I decided to sleep naked with him, lol. Nothing sexual, just thought it was weird. I had to sit on furniture that was covered in plastic. My boyfriend, at the time, had a friend whose parents invited us all over to their house for a party. The mom was a clean freak or something because every piece of furniture was covered in plastic. It crinkled strangely when you sat on it. There were also plastic runners everywhere so the carpets wouldn't get dirty. We were all afraid to drop any food crumbs. It felt like we were in some kind of museum. I went over to a friend's house for a sleepover, and when I changed into my pajamas, her mom started demanding I put something else on and throw my pajamas out. I was really confused. She was yelling about how my pajamas were sinful and bore signs of the devil. I ended up just calling my mom to take me home because I was so uncomfortable. But that woman just kept scolding us for allowing me to wear satanic symbols. The symbols on my pajamas? Peace signs. She said they were broken crosses, so clearly a sign of the devil. We got yelled at for playing that devil game again. We were playing Mario Kart. And Bowser kept freaking his mom out. So we muted it and all was fine from then on. Meanwhile his little brother was literally playing Diablo 2 at the time in the same room. But he already had it muted, so it wasn't a problem, I guess. I once went to have dinner with a girl from uni who came from a super nice but very religious family. Her dad turned out to be the pastor. Absolutely no problem being silent while they're praying before dinner. However, after dinner the whole family got their Bibles out, and asked me politely, which my favorite verse was so we could read it together.